that is another thing. If you have a question, it's often easiest just to put it in chat, and we'll keep an eye on it and make sure you get your question answered.
Yeah. So, as always, if Mary has your email after this is done, you'll get a link to both the slides and the video. The slides are more interesting than the video, in my opinion, mainly because as time goes on and we do more of these classes or something happens in the news, I will update the slides so it's hopefully the most up-to-date information. So you can look back on this in, a month or two to get a refresher. You can look back at the slides and they may be slightly different with new information, which is nice. The other thing is, as long as Mary has your email, she can always send you information about upcoming classes. And if you have any questions about classes, you can always email Mary. And then she can either tell you when we're going to run the next class, or you can even request classes for something you think that might be interesting. And we do take recommendations.
We do.
So this class is on cloud storage. It's mostly an overview. So we're not going to get into real specifics on what each individual cloud storage option does better or worse than the others, but they are, for the most part, very similar. Dropbox was one of the first ones to really make it mainstream, and everyone else kind of copied them to the point where it's pretty difficult to find a specific feature that one offers that the other doesn't. So oftentimes it may come down to price. So I have a little quote here, but basically, what is cloud storage? And you can read it, but cloud storage is essentially storing documents in the cloud, and the cloud is a huge overarching term, which is, you can think of it as a lot of servers, which are kind of high-end computers all over the world that store data and manage data. So whenever you put something in the cloud, you no longer need to worry about it kind of disappearing, because even if one location accidentally loses data or goes down for a little bit, another location will still have your data. So there are some questions you want to ask yourself before trying to choose a cloud storage solution. I have them written on the right-hand side. And the first one would be, what type of computer do you have? And the main reason we ask this is if you are one of the intrepid people who uses a Linux operating system, some of the solutions won't work as well as others. But the main difference is if you have a Mac or if you have a Windows computer. Basically, if you have a Windows computer, there is almost no reason for you to get iCloud. But if you have a Mac, you can kind of get whatever solution you want. But iCloud, it kind of comes with your computer. iCloud will integrate really well with your iPhone automatically. So it's kind of a easier solution because it just kind of is built to work with the products you have. Where do you work? This is a main consideration, along with, do you travel and do you have internet? So will you have internet all the time? Because one thing cloud data allows you to do, cloud storage allows you to do, is if your computer is online, it will then back up your files that you have. So if you are working at home and you have internet, and then you go to a coffee shop that doesn't have internet, you'll still be able to access your files because the ones that you need are stored locally on your computer if you use the desktop application, which all of these solutions will have. And the other thing to note is, if you do work when you don't have internet and you edit some documents, what happens whenever you turn your computer on and you are connected to internet again? With all of these cloud storage solutions, it will then send the updated file to be stored in the cloud. So you don't have to worry about kind of overwriting or losing data in that manner. The other question is, how old is your computer? And this is mainly a question because the older your computer is, the more likely it is that you'll have a hard drive failure. So if you have a cloud storage solution and your computer dies, you'll still have all of your data, which is not that important until it happens to you, and then it's exceedingly important. The last question is hot or cold. And this is mainly, do you want hot storage or cold storage? In this class, we're primarily going to be going over hot storage. And you can kind of think of it like liquidity with money. How liquid is your money? How fast can you retrieve your funds? So with hot storage, you can get it instantly. It's always available. With cold storage, which is generally cheaper, you have to wait a certain amount of time, or it's slightly inconvenient to get all of your data back. But it's cheaper. So if you have a computer at home that really all you want to do is protect against it dying, you can do cold storage, and then you don't really need to quickly access that information unless your computer dies, in which case it'll be a good solution for you. And I'll go over one cold storage solution. So where are your documents stored? So generally, whenever you create a document, it will be stored on your computer. Now you can take that document and move it to removable media. And removable media is essentially a USB flash drive or a external hard drive, which some of you may have. We've gone over removable media in a different class, but essentially what it is it's anything that you can stick into the computer that can store documents. Now, one special consideration I'd like to say is if you have a Mac computer, it probably has the best, in my opinion, way to use a removable hard drive. So if you take a external hard drive and plug it into your Mac, it will ask if you want to set up Time Machine. Windows doesn't really have as good an implementation as Apple does for Time Machine. And what that will allow you to do is if you plug in an external drive into your computer, if you have a Macintosh, it will back up all of your files. And the cool thing about it, because as its name suggests, Time Machine, you can actually go back in time and view a document from 2 years ago that you may have deleted. And it'll still be there, kind of encapsulated. The next option is what we're going to be talking about today, which is in the cloud. NAS is a networked attached storage device. And basically what this means is the external hard drive doesn't need to be connected to your computer. It just needs to be on the same network as your computer. If you don't understand those words, I wouldn't really worry about it because it's not needed if you have a cloud storage solution. And the last option is hard copy. So this is kind of where you print it out. Before we go on, at the very bottom of this page, I have a link to Backblaze, which is a cold storage data solution. And they basically have a lot of storage. So they use a lot of hard drives. And something they do every year is they basically do a report on which hard drive manufacturers and which hard drives they've used and the failure rate. So if you're looking to buy an external storage drive, you can actually click on that link and look at the hard drive stats and kind of see, okay, Western Digital is great, or Seagate is doing really well. And you can also see what drives to avoid. So let's admit that person. And the next slide is basically just saying save again, do it again, again, again. So the more places you have your documents, the less likely it is that you'll lose the documents. So that's a positive, multiple locations. Now the negatives with having multiple save areas for your documents is that, again, it's in multiple locations. So you have a pretty high chance of editing a wrong version or sending a wrong version. So if you have, for example, an external hard drive that you're working off of, and you also have a cloud storage device that you're working off of, you may accidentally use the wrong version and edit a document that you had previously edited. It's kind of a difficult thing to explain, but if you have two documents and you edit one of them one way and another one a different way, they may not merge together and have the complete final document. Another thing is just kind of how do you organize cloud storage? And the best way I can say this is you want to do what makes sense to you. So what works for me may not work for you. So I have one place for my documents, and then my cloud storage basically looks at that one place for documents and backs that up. And I like to make sure I use plain language. So some people I've met, they really like doing acronyms or stuff like that. And they'll label something, like if they have bills that they need to pay, I would create a folder that's called bills, whereas some other people may kind of segment it further by doing bills for Comcast as BFC. And if I looked back at that in 3 months, I would have no idea what BFC stood for. So I like really using plain language. And then you can always do folders within folders. So I'll actually open up my folders and just want to give you a new folder. There we go. So I have all these folders, or I have a folder in my documents called new folder. And if I were to, and I apologize if this is small on your screen, if I wanted to do a folder for bills, I could do this. And now I have a folder for bills. And now if I open that folder, what I would do is I would create a folder for 2018, new folder, 2019, new folder, and 2020. So you can kind of see that I would have a folder hierarchy here that said bills, open it, and then I would go to the year I want, and then there would be the file in there. You can do this in different ways, but I like having a consistent naming convention like that, so that I don't lose things whenever they're in multiple locations. One thing to note is you don't want to write a sentence. So you don't want the length of the name of a document or folder to be a very long document or folder length name, because some cloud storage solutions and some operating systems don't like a path length to be over 260 characters. A specific name, Comcast with the date versus just saying bill. So I immediately know exactly what that file is for. And you can always change it when you share it. And another tip is if you add AA in front of a file name, you can then sort by file name and see, and those will jump to the top of the list. The next thing is make sure that you cull your files. So make sure you get rid of old ones, because sometimes old files will stick around and they'll really mess you up. And you'll also want to back up your files with a cloud storage solution or an external hard drive. Now, I fully realize that I totally just kind of blew through that. So if you have any questions about that, we will definitely have time at the end where you can ask for clarification or for exactly what I was talking about. But now we're kind of in the different cloud storage options section. And I do want to say that I don't necessarily think any one of these is the absolute best. And it's really based on what you want or which one looks the best to you, which one makes the most sense to you and how you would use it. And all of these offer free versions that you can download or log into, create a free account, and try out. And then whichever one you seem to like the best, you can use that one. As a blanket statement, I find Dropbox the easiest, mainly because Dropbox is the one that started it all, and they have a very simplistic menu system, and it's very straightforward. If you have a Macintosh computer, iCloud is a good option because it's already built into your computer and your phone. If you have a Windows computer, it will already come with OneDrive. And if you want Microsoft Office, so if you use Microsoft Word or Microsoft Excel, one part of OneDrive is you also get those applications. So that's something to think about. If you're already paying for Microsoft products, you probably already have OneDrive. For Google Drive, I personally like it a lot because I use Google a lot. Google's my primary ecosystem. And then the last one is Mega, and that will deserve its own kind of special attention. But if you can kind of see the pricing, they're roughly the same price. So Google Drive, you get 15 gigabytes for free. Dropbox, you get 2 gigabytes for free. iCloud, you get 5 gigs for free. OneDrive, you get 15 gigabytes for free. And Mega, you get 50 gigabytes for free. So all of these will have free versions that you can try out and see which one you like the most. And you can definitely ask me questions specifically about one or the other to kind of make your decision, unless you've already made a decision. Now, all of these options will also have kind of paid versions. So with Google Drive, 2 terabytes is $10 a month. Dropbox, 2 terabytes is $10 a month. iCloud, 2 terabytes is $10 a month. I realize this is getting kind of over and over the same thing. But OneDrive, 1 terabyte is $7 a month, and 2 terabytes for Mega is $11.72 a month. Mega is slightly different because it's actually not using the US dollar as its primary currency. So this price will go up and down by a couple cents randomly. The last time we did this class, I believe it was $11.32 a month. So they're pretty much all the same price. Yes.
I have a question for you. Would you use multiple cloud storage solutions, the free versions, or is that just confusing? Say you had a Mac computer and you used iCloud, but you had a Gmail email, so you could use Google Drive as well.
Yeah, and that's a really good question. So there isn't a really good answer for that, but I can say what I use. So for me, I use Google Drive, Dropbox, iCloud, OneDrive, and Mega, among with some other things. And I have to purposefully, in my head, remember what type of document I save in which cloud storage solution. So with Google Drive, that's where I keep all of my kind of personal files. With Dropbox, that's where I keep all of my kind of side work files. iCloud, that's for phone. OneDrive, I use for all of my work files for work because we're a Microsoft user. Mega, I use for all of my files that I want to have more privacy with. And then, yeah, for all of my photos and all of my videos, I actually use Amazon Prime because you get photos for free with Amazon Prime. But it's kind of how difficult do you want to make it on yourself. So I definitely think if you are storing the same document, the same set of documents in multiple cloud storage solutions, on the one hand, it means that if one of those cloud storage solutions goes down for any reason, you'll still have access to your documents. But it also makes it kind of difficult for you to remember exactly where your documents are. And I see something in the chat for sharing, and all of these options are good for sharing. iCloud is probably the least friendly, but all of these will allow you to share a document with someone who does not have an account with either Google Drive, Dropbox, iCloud, OneDrive, or Mega, so they can access the account, access the documents, and download them.
Great.
And I see another one with OneDrive. It came with the computer. Yep. So just like iCloud comes with any Macintosh, OneDrive will come with any Windows 10 computer, and you can see what is stored in the cloud by going to OneDrive. So unfortunately, since I'm showing you this on my second monitor, I cannot show you my main screen, but I can open up OneDrive, open folder. So if you see over here on my kind of laundry list of open things, Dropbox is one. So here's where I would view all my Dropbox files, and OneDrive is here, which is where I can see everything I have in my OneDrive vault. So this is just a folder on your computer that's backed up. So you can kind of see if you can see a tiny cloud icon, it kind of shows me that there's nothing here, there's nothing here, and then the green check mark says that everything is backed up properly.
Great. Thank you.
And that'll be very similar with all the cloud storage solutions. Now, what we were just talking about is cloud storage. Another subsection of that is cloud backup. So not to kind of confuse you too much, but you can think of cloud storage as backing up specific items that you want to be backed up. And you can think of cloud backup as you have a computer. In this example, Backblaze, you pay $60 a year and your entire computer is just poof in the cloud. So if your computer dies, you can buy a new computer and just re-download everything. It's pretty straightforward. You don't need to kind of think about where you're keeping stuff because it just saves everything and puts it in the cloud.
Tim, you have a question in chat. Can you be sure a document on your computer is stored on the cloud without logging onto iCloud.com?
And yes, so unfortunately, I don't have iCloud on this computer, but I do have OneDrive, and it's very similar. So, and as I said earlier, they are pretty much all very similar. So if you can see on the screen, I've opened up my OneDrive folder again, and this little icon, the green checkbox, if that's there, everything's backed up. One thing you can't see, but if I open up if I just click on the OneDrive icon, which will be in the taskbar, which is this taskbar down here,
Okay.
You'll also see a pop-up that basically says you're all set, and it will say something to the effect of all of your files are in sync.
Great.
So the next question people generally ask is this secure? And the answer is kind of. So you can kind of think of it like a house. Cloud storage is like you have all this furniture in your house, and cloud storage is essentially a second house that has all of the same stuff. So people can break into your main house and grab your stuff, and people can break into cloud storage and grab your stuff. However, with cloud storage, your second house is, for this example, I'll use Google. Your second house is in a locked, gated community with a moat around it and constantly patrolling guard dogs and sharks. So people have to get into the compound first, and then they have to break into your house to get your things from the cloud storage. So cloud storage will have better security than your personal computer. However, no one really wants to break into your personal computer unless you've done something specific or they're specifically targeting you. But a lot of people want to break into the compound because then they get everyone's data. So it's kind of a mixed bag, but it is secure. However, there is something that makes it more secure, which is something called zero knowledge. What zero knowledge means is that the provider, the cloud storage provider, has absolutely no idea what you are storing in the cloud. So you could be storing government secrets, plans for building a B-52 bomber or some classified information, and the cloud storage provider would have no idea that you're storing that kind of stuff there. Now, another question is, well, I've done nothing wrong. Why should I really worry about that? And the answer to that is you kind of should, but that's, I believe, probably a different class because I can wax poetic about that topic for a couple hours. However, the downside with zero knowledge is if you lose your password, all of your data is lost. You can't reset your password because the cloud storage solution doesn't have access to any of your information, so they can't even give you a new account to access it. And that is what Mega does. So the bottom of the list right there, with the 50 gigabytes free and 2 terabytes is $11.72 a month. They have absolutely no idea what you're storing. And that kind of gets to the second bullet point, which is the Cloud Act. So before the Cloud Act, the government could ask, they could ask Google or they could ask Facebook. I know that's not a cloud storage solution, but they could ask an entity like that for information, and they could either refuse or accept and hand over your data because they have access to your data. With the Cloud Act, the government can put in a request. So this also includes local law enforcement. They can put in a request to have access to your online files, and these companies will give your online files. And right below it, in this tiny section, in this section right here, this is a direct quote from Microsoft, and it says, "We will access, disclose, and preserve personal data, including your content, such as the content in private folders on OneDrive, when we have a good faith belief that doing so is necessary to comply with applicable law or respond to valid legal processes, including from law enforcement or other government agencies." Essentially, what this is saying is cloud storage that does not use zero knowledge, they will have access to all of your files and they can hand them over if requested. So regardless if you're doing anything wrong or not, I personally kind of don't like that other people have access to my personal files. And according to Article 12 of Universal Declaration of Human Rights, it states no one must be subject to arbitrary interference with his privacy, family, home, or correspondence, nor to attacks upon his honor and reputation. So essentially what that's saying, that was the UN, and you can tell it was written a long time ago because it only says his privacy instead of, all the pronouns. But what that's saying is you should have rights to kind of your security. But if a cloud storage solution operates in the US, they are bound by the Cloud Act, so they can hand over your information. Whether or not that's important to you is kind of a personal choice, I believe. The next question, and don't worry, there are going to be a lot of time for questions because we are blazing through this, is file size. So essentially, how much storage do I need? Because you don't want to be paying for 2 terabytes whenever you really only need the free amount. And I have really, really rough kind of examples of how many files per type you can have per gigabyte. So you can kind of do the math yourself. But generally, if you're working with documents, like Excel documents and Word files, the free version of all of these is more than enough. It's really whenever you get into pictures and videos that you need more data storage. So that was just a quick run through. And so in these classes, we try to kind of foster discussion. So I'll kind of lay out all that information, try and confuse as many people as possible, and then we kind of circle back and try and answer specific questions. And if you have specific questions, don't worry, I will be able to open up a new tab and show you pictures or examples of what we were talking about. But yeah, so if Mary or anyone else has any questions or wants me to go over a specific thing or explain it, we can definitely do that now.
Does anybody have any questions for Tim?
I do.
Great.
Um, I guess I just don't understand the whole concept here. You talk about organizing things in cloud. Um, why would you want to do that if they're already organized on your computer? That's my first question. And the follow-up to that is you buy this Blaze thing for $60 a year, which backs up everything. And I thought cloud backed up everything. I'm thinking that cloud is going to take everything on my computer and just store it someplace. And then if I need something, I could go get it, conceivably. I don't know how, but that'll come next lesson, I think.
Yeah, so great question. It's definitely a natural follow-up. And I've opened two windows. On the left-hand side, you can see OneDrive. So basically, anything I have in OneDrive, and this is the OneDrive folder, it will be kept in the exact same manner in the cloud. The difficulty arises whenever you kind of back up more than this one folder with a cloud storage solution. So it may be difficult to see, but if I go into my OneDrive, there's an option to choose folders, and this will allow me to choose what folders I have backed up. And then anything in these folders will kind of retain the same formatting whenever they're being backed up. So
That's OneDrive, but what about cloud? I don't know OneDrive. I have a Mac.
Yep.
And I just have cloud, and I thought it just kept everything for me in the exact format it is on my computer.
Yeah.
Now you're
So
going in there and organizing it. It's already organized on my computer.
yeah. So basically, if you have it organized on your computer and your cloud storage solution is backing up that folder, it will retain the same organization. So in your example with iCloud, iCloud by default backs up your documents, it backs up your pictures, it backs up your videos. So essentially what that means is if you have anything in those three places, it's backed up in the exact same way. However, you can also choose to ask iCloud to back up your desktop. You can ask it to back up your downloads folder. You can ask it to back up any of those other folders.
So it isn't backing up everything.
Not everything, unless you're paying for the higher level, because one thing Apple's good at is it will use kind of as much storage as you have, if that makes sense. So if it thinks to itself, oh, this person has 2 terabytes of data, and we could easily fit his or her computer in that 2 terabytes of data, it will kind of try and back up as much as it can. But it will also automatically not back up stuff if you're reaching your data cap.
Okay, but if I'm a long way from reaching my 99 cents worth, it'll back up everything?
Yeah, you may want to go into in the gear icon, system preferences, or at the very top, there should be a kind of an iCloud icon. And you can see specifically what folders are checked off.
Ah, okay.
When we do, Tim's going to do some follow-up on these things, including iCloud, so perhaps we can actually show you that process to make sure you know what's being backed up and what isn't being backed up,
Okay.
because that's important.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
I just don't, I'm new to all this, and I just don't understand the purpose other than just having everything on my computer someplace else. So if I lose my computer or something, I can get there. I can get it back. Like when I went to get a new iPhone, they were able to transfer everything from my old phone like lickety split because I had the cloud. Whereas some poor man was standing there waiting 45 minutes to get his stuff converted over to his new phone. So I just look at the cloud as a place like my closet, everything's in the closet, and I can get it back when I want to.
Yeah.
But I maybe it's because I'm retired. I don't work. I don't look at things. You have all these different things for your compartmentalized life, your job, your extra life, your extra
Yes, my extra life.
you know,
Don't
your
tell my wife.
part-time work or whatever, and your family, and you might want different places to put different things, right? I just want the whole thing someplace.
Yeah, and cloud storage definitely allows you to do that.
Okay.
Partially one of the reasons why I put those things in all the different places is it forces me to use all the different cloud storage solutions,
Okay.
so I am
So you
more
know.
familiar with it.
Stay current.
Yeah. Okay.
And while we're speaking about iCloud, there's a question about, is it difficult to download, or he's been told it's difficult to download photos from iCloud. Is that true?
Not really.
Okay.
So actually, let's see if I believe I created this iCloud account a while ago, and it should still be there. Granted, I don't know if I have any images in there. Nope. Okay. Apparently, I don't know my iCloud login, but it's very similar, and I'll just do it this way. But it's very similar to how Google has it. So if I just go to Photos in iCloud, if you log in up here, if you just go to iCloud.com and you log in, you'll be able to go to Photos, and then you'll see all of your photos. So then you can kind of click on a photo, and then you'll have a share option, and then you can share.
Great. And we will go over that when we do the iCloud storage. So you'll see it in iCloud, but it's very similar.
Yeah, and you can also download onto whatever device you want. So you can go to your friend's computer, log into your iCloud, and you can download files directly that way as well, instead of sharing.
And there's another question. Can you go through the process of storing in Dropbox and iCloud? That the iCloud you may want to hold off on that until you're doing the actual iCloud storage session, but what about Dropbox?
Yeah, so just making sure I don't have any random stuff. Oh, well, you may see a bad word, but we'll deal with it. Okay.
We're grown up.
Yeah, exactly. This is the above 18 class. All right. So over here on the left-hand side, granted, this is my Windows computer. We can kind of see that it's a folder on the left-hand side, just like OneDrive. And how would I store stuff? Well, if I had, let's go to blobs. Open a new window, blobs. So if I had these blobs, okay, I just like saying that word apparently. All right, so I have a file over here that I want to put in my Dropbox, and I want to name that file. I want to put a folder in that's titled blobs. Blobs. You can see that it has a green check mark. And if we carry over a lot of these, so I'll just select all of them. See how they have a green check mark right here?
Mm-hmm.
And then, actually, I already have them in Dropbox. That was a bad example. All right. But essentially, you can kind of see how they all have green check marks. But what I would do is I would just drag one, move it to blobs, and now it's in blobs. I can drag it back. Now it's in this file again. So kind of how do I put stuff in Dropbox? I just drag it into the folder that's called Dropbox.
Right, and that folder just gets updated as long as you're connected to the internet,
Yep.
correct?
And you should be able to see all these like little green icons. That means it's happy and everything is backed up.
So I had a Dropbox account, and it says that I haven't been active. I have to actually keep it active.
Yeah, it generally wants you to kind of log in or use it at least once a year.
Okay, so I think Someone sent me a big file, and then I guess they must have sent me a Dropbox along with it because it didn't. That's the part that's a bit confusing. It doesn't really free up any space in your computer, right?
Correct. So, for example, right now, all of these Dropbox files are in Dropbox online, but I also have them on the computer because I have a Dropbox folder. That is not the same as my Google Photos because these are online and not on my computer. So these ones aren't taking up any storage on my computer, whereas all of these Dropbox files are.
Say that again. Those photos are online, but not on your computer.
Yep. So I do not have the Google Drive application on my computer. So all of these are only online. And in case you're wondering what these lovely pictures are, they're showing what not to do for
That was your
video
photo
calls.
class.
This
Yes.
was for video calls.
Oh, video calls.
So
Very good.
did you save these images?
Yep. So these images are actually only saved in the cloud.
Oh, okay.
But I can easily access them and then go here and then download.
So when you do the iCloud thing next week, you'll show how, because you have to specify what you want on the cloud, correct?
Yeah. And one thing Apple does, you can do this as good or not, but if your, for example, if your phone is getting low on storage, it will kind of remove things from your phone and keep them online. And then when you go to access them, it will re-download them. So kind of Apple kind of tries to make sure you have as little interaction as possible with managing how much storage you're taking up.
Okay, say that one more time, please.
Apple doesn't want you to have to manage storage, so it will automatically, if your phone is getting low or your computer is getting low, it will automatically leave things in the cloud and not have them on your computer. And then when you open them on your computer, it will then re-download the file.
Oh, really?
Yep.
That's cool.
It's specifically, it works the best with photos. So like I have an iPhone for work and I take 10,000 photos, it would eventually start removing my old photos and keep them in the cloud to save storage, to save space on my physical phone. And then if I clicked on the little thumbnail that was left behind, it would then download the photo for me to view.
So in terms of that, the phone I had, they put it into collections by year, even though I didn't ask it to. I think I mentioned this to you. But that doesn't free up any spaces either.
No.
So that speaking of photos, there's a question about how you use Amazon for your photos. Tim, can you go into that a little bit?
Yeah. Why do I use Amazon for my photos? Well, I use Amazon for my photos for two reasons. The first reason is I already pay for Amazon Prime, and you get Amazon photos along with Amazon Prime. And the second reason is you can upload as many photos as you want to Amazon Prime, and it doesn't count towards your storage. So if you have a couple million photo or a couple 100,000 photos or a couple thousand photos, they essentially, it doesn't matter how many photos you have. Amazon Prime will just kind of take them all.
Right.
And you can back up an unlimited number. Now, you can also back up an unlimited number of photos using Google Photos, but Google will compress your photos to make them smaller and then store as many of them as you want. Whereas Amazon Prime, it's the full Monty, just super large photo files. It'll back them all up. So that's why I use Amazon. A follow-up question would probably be, why is Amazon not on this list? And that's because the interface is the worst of all of these. So I don't even include it. But if you want photos specifically, Amazon, and you only want to use it for photos, the interface is fairly straightforward.
Can you show how one would find, so say you had 1,000 photos and you don't you have it in one folder. can you show them how you would find the photo that you wanted?
Yeah.
It's sort of amazing.
So that's one of the reasons why I use both Amazon and Google. Is Google is pretty awesome at this. So imagine I have a lot more photos than this, right? And they're all organized by year. They're in albums, all that fun stuff. If I'm looking for photos of my dog, I would just search dog, and I get the photos that include a dog. If I was looking for, actually, what photos do I have in here? Okay. If I was looking for a photo of a mountain, I would search, and it finds all the photos that have a mountain in it.
That's scary, amazing.
Yeah, and the other thing that's scary is it also learns who you are. So this is clearly not my main photo repository, but if I, in my personal account, if I just type in Tim, it will find all the photos that have my face in it.
Wow.
Yep, I can search for mom, dad, wife, and it just finds all those photos, which is convenient, but it's also really creepy.
So does anyone else have any questions for Tim?
I do.
Great.
Every time I turn on my computer, this is my new computer, this annoying message box comes up from Dropbox, and it's saying that I'm almost out of storage and I need to, buy storage now. How do I stop that from happening every time I turn on my computer?
Well, there's a way to do it that isn't what you're supposed to do. But you can go to Task Manager. Is this a Windows computer or a Mac?
No, it's a Mac.
It's a Mac. Let's see, startup items on Mac. Okay. So if you go System Preferences, Users and Groups, and then you go to Startup Programs, you can stop Dropbox from starting.
Oh, so it won't
And that
start.
would stop the message, but then Dropbox wouldn't automatically be running. So for example, I could kind of go to startup on here. So it's kind of going to be a similar look whenever you go to System Preferences, Users, Groups, choose your nickname, login items, and startup programs. And you can kind of say, okay, well, Dropbox enable, disable, and it won't start unless you ask it to.
Okay.
Unfortunately, the only other way to get rid of that message is to pay them money.
Yeah, I figured that, but
And they wouldn't have it any other way.
Right. Thank you.
So Tim, in that case, in case you had Dropbox turned off, if you tried to, if you tried to store something in the Dropbox, it would start, right? So that it would back up.
I don't know.
Okay, we'll find out.
Yeah, because technically it wouldn't be started, but you would still have access to the folder. And I don't know if the folder is smart enough to.
Oh, I see. If you added something to the folder, whether it would tell you to activate the program.
And I guess I can try it. Dropbox. Oops. Okay, so Dropbox is stopped. Let me find a age-appropriate thing to put over there. Let's go with my hybrid animals page. And I will drag all this stuff into Bob. Where was Blobs? Yep. So because I stopped it, none of these files are getting updated. Okay. So you would have to manually turn on Dropbox to get that syncing again.
Yeah. I guess I have to also open it up and look at it because I didn't even know I was using it. So,
You could also clear out what you have in Dropbox and put it in, say, Google Drive or iCloud,
okay.
and open up more storage so you're not getting that
Yep.
reminder.
And I just started Dropbox again, and you can kind of see all the icons are changing. And just in case anyone was curious, that is what a killer whale bird would look like.
Wow.
Is that real?
No,
Is that photoshopped?
photoshopped. But it looks really good.
It does look really good.
Hence why I saved it for no reason. Yep.
Now, I found myself with Dropbox on my desktop at some point and have no idea how it got there. And I was having trouble with iCloud, and I called Apple and spent 5 hours on the phone with some lady at Apple. And I finally just said, could you get rid of Dropbox for me? And she did. And did I ever need it? I never used it for anything, as long as I have iCloud.
Yeah. So
It's fine to be done with it and not have to look at it every time I open my computer.
yeah, one of the positives about these applications, these ones specifically, is you can let other people download the files from them. But they will constantly, so if you don't have Dropbox and you get a Dropbox link, it will definitely prompt you rather aggressively to create a Dropbox account. So it's very easy to, someone sends you a Dropbox link, you just hit OK a whole bunch, and you magically get Dropbox on your computer.
Okay.
And then
I
you can
don't
always
normally
delete it.
share anything on my computer, so
Yeah.
I'm pretty self-contained here.
This has been really great, Tim. I learned a lot. I'm still a little confused, so I'm happy that you're following up with 2 follow-up sessions. I think we will focus primarily on Google Drive and iCloud. That seems to be the most popular 2 storage solutions. Which would you like to do next week, Tim?
It kind of depends on how fast you can get me a Macintosh.
We're doing Google Drive next week, and we'll do iCloud the following week. So we will, the links, I will send the links out for those follow-up classes along with the slides and the recording of this presentation. So thank you everyone for joining us.
Thank you both.
And if you have
Thank
more
you.
questions, feel free to email them to me and I'll make sure that Tim has a chance to respond.
Yeah,
So thank
and
you all.
if you have anything you want specifically addressed in one of the classes that hopefully we confused you enough that you want to come to the next one, if you have any specific things you want to have us go over, just send Mary an email and we'll make sure to cover it.
Oh, and just a plug for upcoming classes. I wanted to let you know that in October, Sandy is going to do a Excel class for Macs, and we're going to try to do some more Mac-based classes because there's a real need. We just haven't had the equipment with which to do it. So hopefully we will address that in the coming months. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.